I am ordering a microphone. I noticed that there's a jackhammer outside. They are tearing up the sidewalk and concrete and like totally refacing the storefront. It's pretty. It's just freaking loud and it's New York. I'm gonna try to turn down the mic a little bit. Let me know if that sounds okay. I'm gonna wait for a few people to come in since. Is it working, Kim? God, what I have to say is like really important. I was totally bummed I didn't come over right away to see the comments because there's a comment feed, but I'm not sure where they come in from. If it's YouTube or what. Okay, good. I just adjusted the mic, so if it's too low, let me know. I'm dining on Brady leftovers. But what I want to talk about is the hand hygiene theory. I was listening to Jonathan Haidt's book, The Coddling of the American Mind. And I went through the introduction and I was listening to the first chapter, and he talks a lot about CBT. And we're on the same wavelength. I really like this man. I'm glad Z-Dog references him because it's good stuff. But hang on. I went a little crazy with the Monat. I bought all sorts. They had a $10 sale, and if you ordered like your stuff, and then you got like 6 things, $10 each. So I'm like trying everything because it's really done wonders for my hair. It really has. I feel bad for judging all of my friends who have harassed and sent group messages and tried to sell me this stuff that I've blown off. I'm sorry, please forgive me, because this shit's great. It's all natural. It stands for modern natural. No, I'm not going to start selling it. I don't have time for that. But the hand hygiene theory talks about, oh, it's a cleanser. Because we are so sterile now, being exposed to just anything causes these great disruptions to our immune system, like with asthma. This is a great example, especially with me being a therapist. We have had like this major influx, like insane, like over 100%. I know that, probably about 200%. I would have to like look up the exact number, but diagnoses of asthma over the past 2 or 3 decades, there's been this massive increase, and it's been since we've started to encourage all this hand sanitizer use and being too clean. So because we're too clean, we are killing all the stuff that we need to be exposed to in order for our immune systems to build up some kind of tolerance. So that way, when there's some kind of disruption like COVID, it's not as bad. Look at H1N1 right now, guys. Remember when it first came out? Remember how bad it was? I mean, like really freaking bad. I had just started as a therapist. I didn't buy any goddamn lotion. Like 12 fucking things over there, and it's either hair or face scrub, but my skin does weird things. It'll get oily, then it gets really dry. So I'm trying to feed it. But now we have this major increase in asthma, and asthma causes a cytokine storm. We balance that with Singulair. Yes, we are giving that to these patients as well. It's not helping. We tried. We thought of that. It's not working, but they're still studying it. Actually, I have the studies up right now. Let me see if I can Google oh, that's what that is up in the corner. Hang on. Let me look up, find. Oh, I know damn well it's there. Hang on. No. Wow. Wonder why not. Maybe they need to do a study on that and those type of medications. Why the freaking hell are we not doing that? Out of how many studies? This is stupid. Oh my God. There's nothing. Guys, there is 4,540 enrolled studies right now. That's just ridiculous. But now we're encouraging all this use of sanitizer, and we are keeping our environments too clean. A little dirt's okay, man. Let the kids play in the dirt. Let them get dirty. Let them eat the shit. They get pinworms, we can treat it. I mean, but they need to be exposed. We need to be exposed to things. Because Corona's not going anywhere. It's not. It's going to be like H1N1 in freaking 10 years from now. And there's going to be another virus. Oh my God, what is going on? Like, my computer needed to update everything, like Windows, Dell, I mean, every freaking thing, and it's popping up questions for this command center. But, in 10 years from now, there's gonna be something else that comes out. Maybe 15, 20 if we're lucky. But there's gonna be something else. Things evolve, things happen. I mean, if it's not one thing, it's another. What is this? Skin Revitalizing Essence. Lightweight miracle water that quickly hydrates and replenishes, giving, oh yeah, desert spray. That's what I bought that for, because this shit's expensive, and since I bought all the other stuff, I got these for $10 each. And they're probably like between 30 and 50. So I shop on a budget. But we need to be a little bit mindful of overdoing it. We do not need to, my mother freaking bleaches lettuce. Dude, the first time I saw her do that, I mean, it's well rinsed. It's just a cap full of bleach water, but too much. Too freaking much. Too much. This is why my mom and I can't get along. She's just too much. But we have to be mindful that this is not going to go anywhere. The vaccine, we are having some major freaking distribution issues, and it's not the fault of the federal government. It is the fault of the state. It's at the state level. Like, the California doctors are having a hard time even signing up to help administer the vaccine, and then they want 12-hour shifts. Like, these doctors are working their asses off on the front line, and you won't take a 4-hour or 2-hour donation time slot when there's a bunch of them who are willing to fill up the whole day to do it? Come the hell on. And then you have to go through like 8 different menus on the website to get there. I had a Reddit thread sent to my email. I follow like Amazon Prime because I'm weird. And it was about a lawsuit against Amazon for making it hard to cancel their Prime membership. Well, it took like 2 clicks for the one guy, and I just canceled it for a little while, or I put it on suspension when I knew I wasn't going to be using it. And because I don't waste money on things I'm not using, I try not to. Sometimes I throw money away. But this website takes 8 clicks versus the 2 it took to cancel. This is to sign up. Holy crap, this is for volunteers. You need to make it easy on the front page, easy to click and go, it's right freaking here. And you need to quit with these restrictions. You are causing this vaccine to go to waste. Because of some of the rules that are administered on giving the vaccine to specific workers, there's enough left over in the, that we can start to vaccinate some in the community, and the government's saying no. A lot of us frontline, we're not worried about the safety of the vaccine. This virus is mutating. I'm worried about, okay, is it going to continue to, the way this is going, it might mutate into a different strain faster than normal. And then we have a problem. Because now we have more than one. And we don't need that shit. So the South African strain is showing power over the monoclonal antibody treatment, which is the one, or like a, not one, but I think there's like a few specific proteins that they have isolated to attack it in mass quantity. And that's why it's important that you go get the vaccine if you've already had COVID, because that way you can produce more of those, not just a low level of them along with everything else, because those ones aren't really helping. It's these specific ones, and they're giving you like a supercharge. It's almost like gassing up the tank, your own tank, without being injected with a virus of some sort. I mean, I don't think I would ever take a live or even inactive virus vaccine for COVID. No, I would definitely want to do something like the messenger RNA to cause the body to make its own. Definitely for that thought. I just want the final frickin' product, and I want to see what's going to happen with this wretched frickin' virus. But it's not going anywhere. It's not. Y'all need to stop. So we have to come up with ways to get along. Understand that sanitizing everything and spraying people down with Lysol is not helpful. It's harmful, and it's assault. You can't do that shit. You can't. I'm begging you to be nice. Please follow the Primetime Patriots. They are involved with Anthony on Be the Change. They were on last night. I did share it last night. Oh, I got 2 of these. Okay. It's for smooth hair. But they're really making a great effort. Suni is a military spouse, and she's also a very outspoken advocate, and she is the change. And I love following her. She was a great addition, and she does her own show. She's a great person to follow, along with Anthony and Be the Change. Please get involved with good people. Start surrounding yourself in your news feeds with positivity and people who are not looking to attack you, calling people names. This identity politics has to go. If Biden wants to succeed in this presidency, he needs to unite by stopping the division and using identity politics, and instead just generalize it. Don't put a label like that. I mean, it's just like labeling black and white when it's not necessary. You know, they're going to start to label us when it's not necessary to include division. And talking to people in this community, I hear that same sentiment when I explain. I'm like, watching what's on the TV and just trying to remain objective, and then coming here and meeting the people and getting the feel of what's going on here is completely different than how it's being portrayed. And New York, Black Lives Matter, like I said in my post, is very, very, very different feel than across the rest of the country. The whole community is getting involved in this. I mean, like the entire community, the hospitals, the employers. I mean, there just needs to be more involved, because it needs to start at the community level to help boost these folks up. I have folks dying in their 40s and 50s, heart attacks, massive strokes. That's stuff I see of 80-something-year-olds. That's like 10 years away for me. I couldn't even imagine living a life that hard that led me down that path to pass away that early. And that population is more susceptible to COVID, unfortunately, and it's the minorities. And that's what has triggered some of these crazy frontline workers ranting about us killing people. And I have more to add to that after my contract. Stay tuned to that, because there's some severe irony that has happened. I just don't want to divulge too much, because it will narrow down my location, and that's not okay with me. No. I'm here in New York City. There's plenty of hospitals here. People aren't going to hunt me down at each one. But I do not see the things that are claimed Unfortunately, that is the population that is affected. And had there been more education and help for these folks, and we were just doing the guidelines, they said intubate early, and now we're going back and forth on what's the right thing. So you guys are confused, but so are we. Our doctors are going back and forth with alternate strategies. I'm in respiratory groups and listening to people across the country. How about the answer is, we don't freaking know. We think something doesn't work, and then we tell everybody that the ventilators are killing people, but yet when it comes down to needing a ventilator or die, but the death rate has been significantly reduced on the ventilator, but they don't tell you that. So if there's a chance in hell and you're young enough to fight and you want to survive, that's your choice. Sign an advance directive of what you want so your family is not forced to live with the burden and make that choice. Because I'm going to tell you what, there was an individual that was on a ventilator for like 130 days, had a heart attack and anoxic brain injury, which is lack of oxygen to the brain for too long when you're down. And there's, your body still has its basic, functions of a heartbeat, a grimace to pain, but the lights are on, but nobody's home. You're just a body on a ventilator for the rest of your life. Those are the risks that you take, and I would rather a patient be given both the good and the bad politely, so they can make the decision best for them, because it is not up to us what you choose to do. We are there to provide you with education and support in making your decisions. But please get them on a form and have it notarized. You can take it, and there are so many public notaries that are dirt cheap, and turn it into your physician. Keep it in a lockbox. That way we know what you want, because it's really hard to make these decisions sometimes. I had a few incidents that happened this week, and I'm not going to get into detail right now, down the way. But it's really hard, and sometimes these individuals don't even have family. When y'all freaked out about, I got a prime example right here. Sorry, I know that's loud. You remember the image out here early in last spring in the potter's field, and they were taking all the bodies in there, and everybody was losing their crap that we were dumping bodies into this potter's field. Let me explain the sheer number of homeless people here that don't have any family, they don't have any kids, there's nobody to make any decisions, and we have to get a 2-physician agreement on like a do not resuscitate status, because there's just no life possible, with what's going on left for the patient. The lights are on, but nobody's home, and you can see the body is it's in agony. We're having to sedate the crap out of you. Nothing's making you happy with the vent. You're completely fighting everything because you just want to let go of it all. And forcing you to stay alive, is one thing. But when the body is like saying, hey, it's hey, but we don't know what's going to happen. Those are choices that you have to make for yourself. And please do it, because it is the hardest thing for us to have to do. To assess you and play God. And there was a family tonight that was struggling. It was an incident, but we really need to come together and support. And I think I'm going to start a COVID support group. I see a lot of people are having complaints about things in Facebook groups, and they're either being kicked out, or everybody's rude, or it's like my way or the highway. So I think I'm just going to try to, start a overall COVID support group to allow you guys somewhere to talk and to share some information in a safe environment. And I'll probably eventually need some admin help from people I trust who I've had with me for a while. But I think it would be a good start for you guys, at least, to create a safe, because I have a lot of you who have gotten COVID. I have a lot of you who have questions for people who've gotten COVID. And you know I don't put up with people's crap. So even though it would be a public group, it would be heavily, I'm not going to like ban speech, but it's going to be appropriate to what we talk about. You know what I mean? It's not going to be a negative space. One of my favorite albums by Seether is titled Finding Beauty in Negative Spaces. And honestly, it was the title of the album that caught my attention the most. Because it's so true. You have to find that beauty in all that negative space. And that's in Harlem. And you can see the art that I shared. It's beauty in some negative area. You know, there's that's where my kid was tripping over heroin needles, right in that area. So finding beauty in negative spaces. And it just kind of helps bring a little smile to your face. That's what made me smile today. That and my babysitter, she thanked me for the review, so I tipped her heavily. What? I don't... You're so sweet, Maria, but she doesn't technology very well. Let me Google something here. It's something about when is, I wish they would date this. It was something about Pompeo. She just wanted me to see it, but I'm just trying to, I don't know. I don't see anything in the headlines that should bring my attention. Sorry guys, multitasking. So this hand hygiene thing is really important to consider because we really do need to expose ourselves to more of our environment and not sanitize every fucking thing you touch. If you see the homeless guy spit in his hands, wash them and grab the pole by all freaking means. Sanitize the shit out of you, the pole, your kid, the people around you. But if you're just in some random place, you know, a bathroom handle, I can understand. I don't even touch them. I use my foot. I try to do like the inward doors only. I don't like door handles. I avoid them like the plague. It's a great source of picking up bad germs because that's where they get deposited. Just be wise of where you're picking up germs at. If my food falls on the ground, the 5-second rule applies as long as it's not too gritty or too fucking nasty. Don't care, I'll eat it. That's some good food. I just had someone on the right call me a bitch just because I asked for proof of what she was posting. I was shocked because I've always been considered conservative. Oh my God. I'm gonna pin this comment. This is not okay. Marilyn, you're part of Be the Change, man. Yes, they do. Shame on them. That's embarrassing. See, when I get back, I actually need to get a hold of the election board because I'm registering as an independent. That's terrible. Yeah, it's not like you're questioning what she says, but you're just wanting to look at the evidence. Like, let me see what the document is. Because it's just like last night, Madeline had sent me something, and the way she interpreted it was that everybody flying on an airplane had to have a COVID test to get on it. But it's not. It's just the international travel. So then there will be some restrictions. And that's understandable. There's a lot of shit going on over there, and the variants are different. And we're trying to keep these contained to continents. Where they're respective and to limit as much travel. And the airports are dead. Like, I walked Brady right through TSA. There was no wait. in the middle of New York on a Tuesday afternoon. Business folks aren't flying anywhere. It's frontline workers and random people who need to travel for the most part, which is respectful. But American Airlines, you better start social distancing. I wanted to ask you if I already had COVID. Yes, you can, honey. And the problem with this new variant is that it's looking like the hard data is showing that this is going to increase your chances of becoming reinfected, like your risk of it. So you really need to be careful with this one if this begins to break out. I mean, I just cannot respiratory. It's like, we seriously, when I came downstairs for a report, there was twice as many people as there was when I got there. And I'm like, they sent in like the freaking troops. I think I counted like 20 travelers and there's only like 10 regular staffers. So we have 3 times the normal staff. And it's awesome because we are all there to support one another, and I love the staff there. I love the diversity, and I love learning about the cultural differences and what brought people to America. And it's really nice being on the ground, and that's what people need to do, is get out into the areas that you think are uncomfortable and learn about them and respect them and appreciate them and help one another out, show some love, man. And I did the other night at work. There was a couple people who like, and the guy, seriously, he just wanted a hot cup of coffee. He was cold, and he went into the deli before me and bought a cup of coffee. They don't sell beer and cigarettes there. They kind of cater to the healthcare workers, but he truly spent the money on what he asked me for, and I gave him the $1. And there was a few other people on my way that I had something that they needed, or I took the time. And just those little things, just to be acknowledged as a human being who's still there and has basic needs. You don't, now the people who are running down the street ranting, who are obviously mentally ill and have nowhere to be, those could become violent situations, and I, with all due respect, please avoid those. But the average person who just, you can see the hardship and the struggle, and your heart just goes out to them. You want to help everybody, and you can't. And that's why we need more people to help support these communities and BLM here. I don't know what the fuck the rest of the country's doing, but it ain't what's going on out here. Not what I've seen. Not at all. Here, it's a little bit different. Some people have taken advantage of it and have become extreme, just like some of the right-wingers, just like some of the left-wingers, just like some radical Muslims. It's going to happen on any side of the spectrum. There's going to be some radicals. There's going to be some extreme behavior. Accept that. You're not going to change it. But to call people rioters and say that we need to be deprogrammed, I just like that Kid Rock meme I shared. Some people are going batshit crazy. I always research. Yeah, and that's what I try to do, Marilyn. And if it's wrong, I either take it down or retract it, just like Z-Dog did when we had to retract the hydroxychloroquine information because that guy wouldn't share the data. With all due respect, that ivermectin study was, and that's another thing I keep forgetting to bring up with y'all with the ivermectin, is that's based off of comparison to those numbers that we don't have access to and that got retracted. That's why the scientific community is not listening to them right now, okay? There is validity in the reasoning behind the scientific community's animosity. That's it. You've already avoided things a few times. You want to waste our time again with some really important information that you've doctored? We can't be doing that, and then people they're contacting me. How do I get a hold of ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine? Those are choices you can make for yourself. A simple Google search will tell you where to get ivermectin, but it's pretty much locked up now. And you have to really know how to ask for it and its intended purpose before they'll even give it to you, if you're lucky. Um, please don't. Please, please, please don't. So the hygiene hypothesis makes a lot of sense when it comes to asthma. It makes a lot of sense with why we, okay, here was another example with that. Peanut allergies. When did you start to notice that peanut allergies picked up? Last few generations, right? Especially this last decade. Because we have removed all the allergens out of the classroom, kids are no longer lightly exposed to build up a tolerance to the allergen. What they found in this study that they did was they gave some people a completely sterile environment. It was hygienic, clean as F, and the other group, they gave them light exposure to peanuts at a young age. And what they found at the end of the study was that the group that was in the sterile environment was more sensitive than the group that they gave the peanut allergy to. They didn't have a reaction or as severe of a reaction. We can't keep our kids in a bubble. We cannot keep ourselves in a bubble. We cannot sanitize our entire environment. We have to be exposed to some stuff. It's what you choose to expose yourself to that's important. E. coli, wash your hands after you go to the bathroom. Okay? Good time to wash your hands. When they're soiled. When they're visibly soiled, you wash your hands. Other times, sanitizer is appropriate. I highly recommend a non-alcohol based sanitizer, contrary to what the CDC says. The benzalkonium is in some of the scrubs that we use. It's antimicrobial. It's pretty solid, and they're finding, I mean, I've got studies that show it's just as effective, if not more. And it's not as drying. I mean, my hands are starting to get a little rough and tough, but I don't see the dots forming. It's just kind of dryness, so I'm probably going to put gloves on when I go to bed. But overall, I'm doing a lot better with that stuff, and I've never had sensitive skin. This elbow, I've been trying, this is the only spot of eczema on my entire body. And I will get patches in my tattoos. It's like I'm allergic to the ink lately, but if I put the steroid cream on it, it goes right down. So I do have allergens, but I keep exposing myself, and I just have light breakouts. It's not all over my face and body like it could be. But I've always been a woodsy person. I expose myself. I will go without a shower for a few days out in Yellowstone if I so feel like it. I wash the important parts, the PTA bath, and call it good. But we can't over-sterilize. We are causing all these problems. We are increasing our children's need for allergy shots, asthma medications, chronic care. If we started following different directions, we would reduce healthcare costs significantly, because I think it's the 20% of the people take up like 80% of the healthcare dollars, and it's the chronic people. If we can get the chronic people to quit being chronic people, think of how much healthcare resources would be freed up. Think about that. We could, these are simple habits that we could, this is how you could be the change. Marilyn, you need to start promoting this theory. This is how we can be the change. We can make simple behavior modifications that long-term down the line, because people want rewards right now. It's a have it now thing. You have to be patient, because if people begin to make these changes, we will begin to see a drop over time in these diseases, and that will reduce our healthcare drain in a way that we can help control. And that's something that we can do simply by just making some behavior modifications. Seriously, it's not a bad thing. Change is, just make it small. Do small things at a time, and before you know it, it becomes a habit. It's muscle memory. It really is. I tune this shit right out. I'm used to it. I'm used to noise. I hear trains in El Paso. Oh, I never turned my phone back on. That's something we can do simply by, and you don't even have to go out and interact with, if you're not a people person, you don't even have to interact with people. Or when you do interact with people, that you do educate and learn from, and you guys have informed discussions that are respectful, which are few and far between these days. You can talk about these things and about simple things that we can do. And when it's so simple, it's stupid. People are like, oh my God, but just these simple changes can make a huge impact for future generations. And we really need to, because the drain on our economy is so bad. 50% of our GDP goes out to healthcare. Dude, we could fix our country ourselves practically if we would just quit being a-holes. Seriously. We can do this without the government's help. And we can be like, screw you. And that's what they don't want. They don't want us uniting. They don't want us revolting against them together. When the white folks were marching down the street with Black Lives Matter and everybody was supporting one another peacefully, they didn't want that. Think about this. And now Antifa, the media is promoting them as like some positive anti-racist and anti-fascist groups that were in Portland. I mean, these like protests happened across the country that became violent, and like the attack on the DNC out in Portland. It's being downplayed in the media by like some fluffy words, and you're like, seriously, do I look that disillusioned? I'm looking at the pictures going, that doesn't match the fucking headline. I mean, it's so blatantly obvious. I mean, maybe it's intentional by these reporters because they're being forced to write this garbage, that they just write this insanely, obviously biased story that's hard to believe and almost sarcastic to the point where people are like, okay, yeah, right, bullshit, and calling out these media companies. I mean, it could be because a lot of these journalists are really ticked off at the way the industry is run now. It would be a great revenge. I was wondering if it was just my imagination, but it seems like so many kids and young adults have allergies. When I was, you're right. You're right. No, it's not your imagination. It's very true. If you look at let me see if I can Google it right. Okay, it's okay. This is, let me see if it's on here. I need to find, okay, here's another reason Black Lives Matter, folks, okay? More than 25 million Americans have asthma. This is 7.7% of adults and 8.4% of children. Asthma has been increasing since the early 80s in all age, sex, and racial groups. Asthma is more common in adult women than adult men. African Americans in the U.S. die from asthma at a higher, let me put my damn glasses on, or maybe I could just increase the font. African Americans in the U.S. die from asthma at a higher rate than people of other races and ethnicities. More than 11, so not only are they dealing with asthma issues, but also COVID. More than 11.4 million people with asthma, including more than 3 million children, report having had one or more asthma episodes or attacks in 2017. Asthma is the leading chronic disease in children. It is more common in children than adults and more common in boys than girls. Currently, there are about 6.2 million children under the age of 18 with asthma. It is the top reason for missed school days, and I mean, even though they chalked it up to asthma, my daughter had rheumatoid, it was the same responses. It was all inflammation. I'm trying to find the growth rate. Epidemiology. Oh, this ought to be fun. Jeez, oh Pete, why do I ask these questions? Ay. Okay, yeah, that was some in children during the 80s and 90s subsequently translated into an increased adult prevalence. However, establishing this trend is challenging due to the increased trends also affecting adult asthma, variable asthma definitions, heterogeneity of asthma phenotypes, and limited sequential studies. Ugh. Like, asthma is like a generic term, folks. There is so many divisions of asthma, it's ridiculous. A lot of people don't realize how complex it actually is. Trends in the prevalence of asthma. Let's try this one. That's kind of what I'm looking for, is the answer in that. The asthma epidemic of the last few decades may have peaked. Studies suggest that the incidence and prevalence of asthma has decreased in some countries in the last few years. Although other studies suggest continuing small increases in prevalence, increasing awareness, and changing diagnostic habits make precise evaluation difficult. Okay, here's a, some of you are going to recognize this word. Although the effects of indoor allergens, dampness, and mold, and of outdoor air pollutants, especially traffic-related, have traditionally dominated risk factor research, more recent epidemiologic and clinical studies have focused on metabolic and nutritional factors, including maternal obesity and vitamin D levels. What's the big question and thing we're hearing with COVID? That vitamin D deficiency. Inflammation obviously is having some impact. So that's why some of you with chronic pain and inflammation really need to have your vitamin D levels checked, because those low levels are very, I mean, yes, I've been there. I've had to do vitamin D dumps. Okay. The substantial upward trend in the reported prevalence of asthma in the latter part of the 20th century has been termed the asthma epidemic. Compared with 50 years ago, when only 2 to 4% of the population, 2 to 4% of the population reported asthma, recent data suggest 15 to 20%. That's a lot of effing people and children. And if you look at like the growth chart, I guarantee you over the last 3 decades, it's been significantly higher of a growth rate. What it says the public, yeah, they are. And I try to just like re-educate the public, and I'm like, no, let me show you. Just like Cash does, boots on the ground, man. They need to get his ass out of fucking jail. They really do. We need him out here. Because coming from somebody else of color, it's going to be more understood and respected than some white chick. They'll listen if you have good information and you know how to talk. It's all in how you relate to people. And I honestly relate to the black community better than I do white folks. Truly do. All of my friends are black guys. I mean, it's just who I hang out with at home, on the road. I just don't gravitate towards people of my own race. I like to learn from people. I like to take some enrichment in culture and history, learn so I can pass it on to my children who don't know freaking crap because they go to public schools. Thank you for your education on asthma. I wish I could have used my AEC degree more. Yeah, Vicki, I wish you could have too. I mean, you can still do it. I mean, you need to work just like on occasion, you know, work for yourself and just do a little bit of education. And I mean, you got the street cred, and it still gives you contact with people and doing respiratory, because you're always in RT. I know you probably get bored once in a while, especially with Mom being gone. And I'm sorry these are the holidays without her. I love you. That's my other mom. What happens if you take too much vitamin D? I don't have a way to right now to have my level. Just don't overdose on it. Take a regular dose. I can't remember if it's D2 or D3. I'm going to have to research that, but it's going to have to be later because I know it's getting late. Yeah. So I will try to do all these things tonight, tomorrow night, I'm off until next Wednesday. So I'm gonna go try to check out. I gotta try to book tickets for the Metapro, the Museum of Natural History. That thing. I need to go down there, but it's only open like Wednesday through Sunday, and those are like the days I have to freaking work. So I gotta try and get in there. So I'm gonna let you go. We'll wrap it up. Google the hygiene hypothesis. Click on the link that I left and look into it, and you'll understand what I'm gravitating towards here. And form a causal relationship with that, because this is based on truth, trends. We know these things. We've witnessed these things throughout our lifetime. We cannot we do need to boost our immune systems with exposure. You want natural immunity with healthy things? Do it properly. Don't put fake shit in your body to try and boost it and try to chemically alter it. Holy crap, is that loud? Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it's the D3, but you have to make sure that you take vitamin D with something that contains fat. Vitamins K, A, D, and E are your fat-soluble vitamins. And this is why taking so much vitamin C is stupid, okay? In the hospital, we give it to you through an IV infusion, okay? So it's continuously running. What your body does with the rest of the vitamins, see, those are water soluble, and there's nowhere for your body to really store those. So when you drink all those monsters and your urine is that bright ass yellow color, that's because you just pissed out all the B vitamins that you drank. Because you're at your max capacity. It's like think of a radiator. And when it overheats, you know, it goes into that overflow reservoir. Well, all that overflow reservoir is all the extra vitamins that your body isn't able to store. So you're just looking at all the money you just put into your monster drink and drank for very limited benefit right into the freaking toilet. So KADE, you need to eat fat with. Your body has to have some way to process that, okay? It's got to bind. You are welcome. One more night. It was a great night last night. I really like this hospital. I think the people are great. They have great intentions. I don't think what I've heard has been accurate, and then I find it was another, you know, emotional response, as I thought, because I could tell by there's just key words that you pick up on when people behave that way. But the story behind it is pretty, can't wait to share. Just remind me when the contract's over. All right, guys, I'm gonna go book these tickets. I love you.